So I start on reported plots against May 29 handover and plans by outgoing government officials to flee before takeover. The coalition of northern groups is, as usual, worried by the growing uncertainties created by certain destabilizing forces in the country surrounding the May 29 transition to a new administration elected through the democratic poll processes of February 2023. We note that these concerns have been variously hinted at by the nation's apex security organ, the Directorate of State Services, the Military High Command, and the Nigeria Police Force without visible proactive measures put in place to implement. CNG is also worried about reports that some top officials of the outgoing administration are planning to leave the country ahead of the handover, obviously in a bid to cover up their serial misconduct in office and to avoid being called to account. We are especially worried by reports that Godwin Emefiele, who has held one of the most important offices in the country as governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria throughout all the years of Nigeria's economic and financial turmoil, is among those planning to flee abroad. Our observations. The CNG observes that just recently, precisely on Monday, May 15, 2023, the Nigeria Police Headquarters confirmed that plots to schedule the May 29th official inauguration of the new administration of the President-elect Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu and governors at the state level are real. We observed that earlier on May 4, 2023, the nation's military high command also alerted on plans to schedule the May 29 handover and warned the plotters to shelve the idea. It specifically said its officers are on standby to forestall any unwanted happening in the country before, during, and after the transition. We observed also that 2 weeks earlier, the defense headquarters had raised the same alarm that some individuals are plotting with foreign collaborators to disrupt the May 29 inauguration and vowed to track them down. We observed that much earlier, the Department of State Services (DSS) had confirmed a clandestine plot by some politicians to derail the handover and install an interim government in Nigeria. The CNG has observed also that allegations are growing strong of Emefiele's planned study leave abroad, presumably to escape Nigeria before the inauguration and avoid questions around alleged terrorism financing, other economic and financial misdemeanors, and the introduction of the currency redesign policy in a bid to create obstacles for Tinubu during the presidential campaign, which ended up in mass national suffering and confusion. We also note some state governors, represented by Mohammed Mutawalli of Zamfara State, have raised the alarm that the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission chairman plans to plans an unjust, isolated probe of only outgoing governors while excluding the federal government functionaries and even the presidency. We also observe that the EFCC boss is making this vow without mention of scrutinizing the EFCC itself, where recent reports made an embarrassing revelation of officers fighting to the point of death over recovered items in Sokoto. Our stand. It is in view of this and other potential national threats and likely impediments to the smooth take-off of the incoming administration that the CNG declares the following definite positions. On plot against handover. 1. We have resolved to strongly repudiate in all ramifications any attempt by any individual or group to bring about any situation that could lead to scuttling or in any way postponing the scheduled handover of leadership to the new duly elected federal administration of Bola Tinubu and state governors on May 29. Two, to demand from the DSS urgent proactive action to checkmate the maneuvers of the perpetrators of the evil scheme, and most importantly, to trace and expose the extent of the plot, arrest and prosecute not only the executors of the plot but its sponsors and all individuals or groups in any way linked to it. Three, to invite the DSS to note that Nigerians would not be disposed to accepting situations deliberately caused by vested personal interests under whatever guise that potentially threaten destruction and collective mayhem or bring about greater conflicts that could lead to mass killings and suffering of innocent people. Number four, to demand that anybody or group found remotely involved with the financing, direct execution, or concealing information on this sinister and diabolic scheme be treated appropriately as a treasonable felon and enemy of the state and fellow citizens. Number five, to hold it ridiculous and insane for people with dubious political interests to want to disrupt an otherwise peaceful and orderly democratic process, even while candidates and parties directly involved with the process have opted for the path of honor by seeking redress in the court of law. Number six, we repeat here that on no account should Nigerians be expected to accept a replication of the unfolding deadly conflicts across African countries incited by powerful foreign interests. On fleeing plans by officials, we demand that security agencies in the country, including all the anti-graft agencies, work in synergy and ensure that all critical office holders in the outgoing administration, such as the governor of Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, did not sneak out of the country before May 29. We demand that when the present administration of President Muhammadu Buhari bows out of office, all key office holders must be asked to clear themselves of all pending corruption and other allegations against them. We insist, in particular, that the CBN governor must be made to give an account of his tenure to the incoming administration. We demand that if any study leave has been approved for Emefiele or any other suspected official, it should be cancelled in the interest of peaceful transfer of power, accountability, and good governance. On EFCC, we reject the purported plan to limit the searchlight to only outgoing state governors and demand that the EFCC chairman carries out a holistic probe by extending the beam on the presidency, federal government ministries, parastatals, and cabinet members of the outgoing administration. We also demand a thorough search into allegations against the EFCC itself, as well as the disabling volume of debt amassed for the country by the outgoing administration. Thank you very much. I told you, I promised you it's going to be short. Even shorter than I promised. My friend, where is he? You have any questions? I think some of you are in a rush to attend other functions. So, it's very clear. Aha, I know. Come on. Yes. My question is, you come up with very sensitive issues trying to avoid being targeted at the end of time that we see we are so unity of differences and now how we intend to achieve this? Well, first and foremost, we did not allege any offense against anybody. What we are saying is it's curious of an outgoing government to want to leave the country a few days to hand over. Want to leave the country a few days to hand over. So what we are simply advising is that it will be more healthy, it will be cleaner if they are retained at home and made to answer questions if there are any. But we are not alleging anything against anybody as a body. Yes. So the other friend who asked questions earlier. No, it's there. The one was yellow shirt. Okay, I don't know. You don't have any question? No question. Go. Very clear. I don't know. Now?